Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Gauteng South Branch Higher Education LIASA Interest Group, in partnership with University of Johannesburg Library, is welcoming everyone this morning for the important conversation and the platform where we are going to discuss the library's data collection or library statistics, as all of us are used to that term. Without any waste of time, let me acknowledge our LIASA president, Mr. Hadi Nazim. We know they can be everywhere, but we need to recognize them. The ESCO members, the National LIASA Office, our manager, Ms. Anna Marie and the team, Kagiso and Lebu, and all the members of LIS, the Gauteng South Branch Executive Committee, the speakers who are here. We really appreciate your availability to help us and to impart knowledge in order to grow the LIS. I'm so excited and ready to learn from our different speakers this morning. You know, without any waste of time, I'll have to hand the baton to our HELIG coordinator, the only one of us, Ms. Nomoya Mahlangu, the director from the University of Johannesburg, focusing on research, support, and teaching and learning. You know, yesterday evening, I was so excited to see that 180 people have registered for this platform. I think they will still be joining us, as the topic for the day is really exciting and embracing anyone to be here. And Nomoya, our HELIG coordinator, over to you, ma'am. The baton is yours. I hope everyone is gonna learn this morning. Thank you very much. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you really for the warm words of welcome. Kagiso, could you kindly remove the, yes, thank you. It's lovely. Good morning, colleagues. It is really a pleasure to be here this morning to have this conversation with all of you. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to address colleagues on this very interesting topic on statistics collection. I want to state from the word go that this is not a presentation by experts. We are colleagues who just want to share what we do, so that from here on, we can learn from each other and we can learn together. Mine is just to give an overview of why we are doing what we are doing, why this conversation this morning. So let me quickly do this overview because we have a very tight schedule. So I'm going to try and be really quick. We expect our guest speaker to come in exactly at 10:30. So I'm going to try and share my screen. Just give me a second. Just a minute. What's going on here? I don't know because it says I'm sharing, but you're not seeing anything yet. Let me do this.
Actually, Nomoya, we were able to see your screen. You can just
Were you
share
able
it
to see my
again.
presentation?
Yes, yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes, ma'am.
I should have asked you whether you were seeing my presentation because
Yes,
I
it was on.
thinking, lovely. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Right. Happy, just confirm.
Not yet. Yeah, it has come up. I can see your presentation and it can, yeah.
Right. It's just not showing in the manner that I want it.
Okay, you can just do the slideshow.
Just 1 second.
Yes. Yes.
From the beginning.
Right. Okay. Right. Colleagues, as I said earlier, I just want to give a brief background and why we are doing what we are doing today, why this conversation. So we all know that data is the new gold, as everybody says. And
Ma'am, I
so,
think you need to stop your screens.
oh, happy, thanks for that. All right, it's good.
Yes.
Thank you for reminding me. Right, so we all know that data is gold and everybody talks about data as being gold. And so libraries have a lot of data, as we know, that comes through the various systems and channels. And we need to create a safe space then to discuss how we manage library data broadly, just broadly speaking. Library assessments and showing value has been on the list of the top trends in recent years, either on the ACR or the Horizon report. And library analytics is reported to have the potential to help libraries to demonstrate their impact. The question is, are we as librarians using the data we have to gather? Are we using it in such a way that it is designed to help us make the decisions we need to make with that data? Okay. But also one of the things that we are experiencing is that there's a lot of loneliness and silos around data collection and analysis. Those that are tasked to collect statistics at our libraries are often isolated and lonely. They are the only ones meant to collate and analyze the data to make sense of it. They are faced with various challenges as they seek to collect, analyze, and present these library statistics. For instance, nowadays, there are various tools to assist with data collection and analysis. All this is new. And so there's a need to have someone to chat to when the need arises, to find out which tools to consider, what works better, and who is using what tool. Clearly, there is a need for us to support and collaboration, and even guidance amongst each other. Also, there's a need for us to identify trends, national trends and best practices. So when presenting library statistics, especially at the end of the year, you would agree that it always feels like the data will make more sense when presented in a broader context. In other words, to be able to show some national trends or of such, Otherwise, the statistics are presented in a siloed manner, which is really unfortunate. The data required to indicate trends and to compare usage where possible are not readily available. And so we tend to present our side of the story. So whilst we recognize that we do not have measures, we do not have to measure the same things, but where possible, we should align with each other, as doing so will stand us in good stead in applying projects, in applying rather funds to support joint library projects, among other things. It is always good to know that what you collect and analyze is, and the way that you analyze, you're doing it in the correct way, that you apply the same principles as everybody else, and to know what tools, techniques, and processes others use to carry out the job efficiently. We also need to learn together. You know, in a recent survey conducted by EBSCO, it says that almost 200 libraries that were surveyed in Canada and the US, they found that when it comes to data collection and data analysis, many libraries shared that their top barriers included lack of time, lack of personnel to do this, and lack of expertise. So there is indeed a need for some learning interventions to get us all on board and all on the same page around statistics. I see that I wasn't showing all my pictures, but that's okay. So what have we then done? I just want to take this opportunity and share with you a brand new initiative that is meant to address some of the data collection and analytics challenges that we face as libraries. So a number of librarians responsible for statistics management in SA libraries have come together to form communities of practice with the aim of sharing best practices, as I said. They felt a need to talk about the subject with each other. They formed the statistics and data community of practice. This group is representative of many academic libraries across the country. Members or membership in this community of practice is free, and it is open to anyone who's interested in deepening their understanding of library data collection and analysis. The group is currently finalizing its terms of reference, which will be adopted hopefully this coming Friday. This will guide the activities of the group in its pursuit to reach a common understanding of the subject. And as I said, any academic librarian interested in the subject is welcome to join the group. So the formation of the community of practice for statistics and data collection is supported by a number of authority organizations in the library and information science, as I've put on the screen here, just to give you a sense who is touching on this issue and who is urging us to come together in this way and talk about statistics. Just briefly to share with you, the past IFLA President Claudia Lux said the following. I'm just going to read a little bit from what he said. I just want to look at time quickly. I don't want to delay the next speaker. Okay, that's good. The IFLA President, I quote, said, "To convince our partners of the value of libraries, the use of statistics in advocacy for different levels and audiences is one key element. Politicians and administrations need results when they allocate money to a library institution. Even if it's not the only reason for them to support libraries, it is always an important part to keep them informed about, to keep the board members informed so that they can decide on the further development of a library, and it is also a good marketing tool for the library in relationship with partners and researchers." Finally, she says that library managers and library staff need statistics to analyze the results of their work, to be able to compare it with previous years or with results of what other libraries have achieved. It is therefore important for them to understand statistical data, to be able to explain different reasons for good or bad results. That is from the IFLA president, the past IFLA president. So IFLA Statistics Manifesto as well urges us to collect statistics nationally and globally. And so that is the reason why we need to come together the way we come together, because we need to talk together. We need to come together as national libraries, academic libraries in SA, even public libraries need to group themselves together and present a joint statement around statistics. This means that some form of uniformity, as we can see, is encouraged for us to be able to pick up, national and global trends. Again, the ISO standards, there is this ISO 2789 of 2013, for instance, which is an international standard for international library statistics. It talks about the need for us to do comparative studies, to be able to compare statistics results between institutions or countries. So if we come together, it will be possible for us to do this, because if the data and the data collection methods have not been defined and fixed carefully, we can't do all these things. And so the international standard specifies rules for the library and information services community to collect and report statistics accordingly. And so I found it also very interesting when I read Stats SA document that said that data and statistics must play an active role in shaping the world of tomorrow. And it says that good quality and trusted data and statistics are therefore needed to guide decisions and actions of monumental significance, as well as to monitor their impact. Now we saw this happening with COVID, that with good data we were able to, the country was able to move forward and make decisions around the virus. So what is our big why as the group, and as we come together the way we're coming together in this platform? One, we hope to achieve a number of things. Our big why is that we hope to find ways to close the skills gaps around data collection and analytics in our libraries. We also want to develop a data-driven decision-making culture. And we want to have the ability to detect statistics usage trends across our academic libraries. And with that, we hope to be able to develop relevant responses to these trends. But first, we need to come together like this and agree on common library usage metrics as guided by the above, aforementioned authorities in statistics and data collection and analysis. Now, with these few words, colleagues, this gives you a sense and some rationale of why we're doing what we're doing. I'm going to stop here so that if there are any comments or questions or from the chat, we can take those. But we need to stop exactly at 12:30 to allow Prof. Maria Frahm-Arp to join us. Before I do that, I've been asked by the next presenters. I just want to remove, to stop sharing.
Sorry, Nomoya.
Yes, Happy?
I've been informed that Prof will only be able to give a presentation at 11 o'clock. So we can continue with what we have in between until she log in.
That would be great. As soon as Prof. Maria comes in, somebody notify us and we'll stop there and then and let her in and give her the platform. So as I was saying, colleagues, I just want to declare something that my colleagues, the presenters asked me to declare, which is that they are here to share what they do with you. They are not here as experts. And I think it is important that we say this upfront. This is a safe space for us to come together and say, this is how I do it in my space. How are you doing it in yours? And from there, we're going to come together again and say, all right, this is where most of us are. How do we then move forward as a country, as academic libraries, but also as public libraries, because there are guidelines on how statistics needs to be collected and managed in public libraries as well. So nobody is left out of this, but we're going to see how it goes, and we're going to keep you informed as to how it's going with the community of practice. As I said, it is an initiative that we hope will take us further as academic libraries and as a country. So, you know, just watch the space and get involved. Everybody's welcomed. So, I don't know if there are any comments. Anybody just help me with the Q&As if there are any. I can't quite see that.
So there is a question, Nomoya.
Yes.
With regards to the joining into our group, colleagues, I see they are asking how can they join the group. So this is the question that is coming more often on the chat. And I'm not sure if I can say that they can send emails to me. Yes. I will put my email address on the chat so that colleagues who are volunteering to be part of this team can just send their emails, and I will add them to the bigger group and start communicating with them.
Thank you so much, Happy, for that. And perhaps we can send we can send that to the entire, through the LIASA office as well, you know, for anybody who's interested in statistics to join this group. It's really a community of practice. It is not a legal entity of any sort. It's just librarians coming together saying we want to learn. We want to move ourselves from one level to the next around the topic of statistics. Now, I think I should take this opportunity. We have a good 30 minutes, I think, or so for our colleagues to really start presenting and sharing. So I'm going to start by introducing the first speaker. So the first speaker would be Kenny Tshukudu. Kenny is from Mandela University, and he is going to give us, you know, share with us how they manage statistics at Mandela University. Kenny, over to you. I think that would be fine, and I will just introduce the next speaker as they're about to present. So Kenny, over to you, sir.
Good morning, colleagues. This is Kenny from Mandela University, of course, as Nomoya has just said. I am very glad to see a large number of persons present in this very platform today, just to learn more about what we're doing. So I do not have a presentation that I'm going to be flashing to you, colleagues, but it's just to share as the very aims of this community of practice is to share ideas, expertise, experience, and possible best practices where possible. So myself at the Mandela, I am in both the circulation services and the information services. So there's a whole lot of statistical analysis that gets needed to get submitted now and then. And as Nomoya has highlighted as well, especially during year end, where you have to submit towards your final year reports, which goes to the higher management of the institutions. So statistics, of course, are very important, but lately, of course, after COVID as well, we've been looking at information resources, or otherwise, if I could say that information resources have become very much interesting. So we need to also look into how we analyze those statistics of our information resources in our libraries. So in that sense, as I said that I do not have a presentation, I do have a colleague from the bibliographics whom they actually look into information resources, how the information resources get managed, how the data under the bibliographics or information resources particularly get analyzed to make sense to others and reports or reported where needed. So she would share a bit more of what Mandela does in terms of ERM, as much as we were supposed to share a bit on ERM from the Mandela University perspective. But what I'm also trying to share to you colleagues, it's already being shared broadly by Nomoya, if I could say. So I'm glad that most people have already in the chats asked to join, because we were very few, and the very objectives of these groups are becoming clearer. This was the very aim of this gathering, which is our very preliminary gathering that we needed to showcase what we're doing. There's nothing formal, but we, of course, aiming to have some sort of a certified document about the importance of library stats as university libraries across the nation, which would serve, of course, at the national level and even globally at a later stage. And of course, it serves at different levels within our institutions, as it showcases the importance of our libraries, what we do within our institutions and to the society at large, possibly. So from the Mandela perspective, would suggest that my colleague from Mandela as well, just follow after me and just to share on the tools and what Mandela is doing in terms of ERM, as much as we know that the electronic resources have gained much interest also after global pandemic of COVID, which we all experienced. And of course, we do have challenges, but this is a very platform that we're going to be sharing and seeing what we could do to make sense of these many challenges, which differs from one information, from one institution to another. And we want to unpack them and to formalize what needs to get done in this group and see what we could achieve. But as I said, the more specified details of tools and how it goes about from the Mandela University perspective would be shared under the electronic resource management by my colleague Rafiekah. We're not going to be sharing much on the information services, which is academic services and other institutions, or rather also even the circulation services. But we do have, of course, systems at place, that of which we usually extract or draw the reports from, statistical reports from, which could make sense to others or to the librarians. And we always try to make sure that the very statistical reports make sense to whoever that we report into. But today, from a Mandela perspective, as I said, we're going to dwell a bit into practicalities under the ERM. And I'm glad that you guys are, that you colleagues are keen to join, and we're going to be working together in sharing ideas, expertise, experiences, and best experiences from the various institutions across the nation. Thank you so much. And probably Rafiekah could follow just to catch up on what I just said before the other colleagues or the other presenters of the day. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you so much, Kenny, for that. Really appreciate what you've shared. I agree with you. Rafiekah can then take over from you. So Rafiekah Abrahams is from Mandela University as well. And she is the senior librarian at ERM. Over to you, Rafiekah, and thank you so much for your willingness.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Nomoya. Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, I'm going to try and share my screen. I am not a fan with Zoom, but I'm going to try and see what I can do. Just bear with me, please. Just tell me if you can see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes, you can. Thank you, Rafiekah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm from Nelson Mandela University. I'm the current senior librarian in electronic resource management. I've taken up this position less than 2 years ago. I think I was appointed last year, February. So I am quite new in the position. And, you know, as Kevin was saying, that when COVID hit and we were all working remotely, we have to find ways and means of still doing our work as best as what we could. So what I'm going to share with you is what I found when I got to into the post of ERM. So my content that I want to speak about basically is that how we were collecting and collating usage statistics in ERM at Nelson Mandela and the library services. What I found was the challenges that we had, and also then how we would like the usage statistics to benefit us. And that is why I am part and parcel of this group, which I will then also draw from some knowledge, how-tos, what not to do, what has been done, and then also try and then bring this back to Nelson Mandela and try and instill that which I'm going to learn on this journey. Okay, so how we currently collect, or how it was collected, we did manually downloads from individual admin sites. Okay, we got some statistics reports from providers, counter reports, social reports. Everybody had their own reports. We had also ebook single titles. EBSCO would give us some reports, or we can go onto the EBSCO website. We can go into collection manager and we can go and get it down there, same with ProQuest. And we have some lecturers that request certain titles, especially prescribed titles, that they would like to see what is the usage on it. So we got a little list of who wants which books. And because we knew, and I'm new, and also the lady that used to do statistics, she finished off last year, September, it was just a kind of like a in-between. I wouldn't say a mess, but a challenge rather. And how it was collated was that all this data was just captured on an Excel spreadsheet manually. And that was basically it, each one under a specific database name. And it looks something similar to this. You will have Hein Online, and it will have the Hein Online results. You will have EBSCO packages, you will have subunits. And while I'm on this page, you will see that the metrics used, you get page views, you get articles, you get hits. You get the different terminologies. I'm just bringing it out to you because this was one of my challenges. Subunit would speak about downloads and search and view. Your EBSCO would speak about full text, searches, total package request, alerts, And that is where it became very complicated to understand. And what I saw they were reporting on prior to me, because I would assume this is how they were collating the data and unpacking it. It was reported actually almost like as if each one was reported on its own. EBSCO host package with a year, Sabinet packages with a year and how it was utilized, and IEEE and so forth, okay? So that was how it was reported, but I obviously did not really agree with that because in my mind, statistics and data analysis, it tells a story and there are things that we need to project or do that you cannot actually do with the way things were done. So the challenges I had basically was that service providers, they give you different counter versions. For example, Sabinet still do their journals on counter 4. Then you have EBSCO, they give you your counter 5. Then we have like maybe Hein Online, they use again that Remote X. So the different versions of counter and the different statistics that came through, that was a problem. Putting it on one spreadsheet was a problem. Then there were certain providers that didn't even provide us stats at all, your associations. For me, it was difficult, the metrics part of it, difficult to collate, to analyze and to compare across. Sometimes the stats that was available was 2 months behind, like when I do a monthly report for July, now mid-August already, then your July reports are not all finished or complete because there's some stats outstanding. That was a problem for me. Changes of platforms without any notification on, logins that falls off. And then also one of our problems was that we could not calculate the value proposition on cost per use and compare it like with another database that is in that same specialized field. So having said that, what did we do about it? So the NMMU Library Strategic Plan for 2021-2025, we had a goal there with integrated systems and technologies. And then within the bibliographic services, we then launched a usage statistic tool project. NMMU being part of a sales consortium, of which USU, Water Sisulu, Fort Hare, and Rhodes are part of, and we're sharing the same system and tools. It was then asked to take this onto a sales level. And then a sales task team was formed from there. So far, we had about 3 meetings, very, very productive meetings. We had one demonstration with Counter, Natasha Mellons-Cohen, that was assisted through the SANLIC office. We met with Natasha. We also have a few other tools that we are going to have demonstrations on. And that is like your Live Insight, UStat, Folio, and the JUST, that is the Journal Usage Statistic Portal. So we're going to look at various tools and we're going to try and see which one works best and what will work, what won't work, and what we actually want out of it in the end of the day. So we all can be also on the same page. Having said that, when I saw the project that was running, I thought that this project can also assist us in having this, like a kind of a 3-way stream coming in, and you can just learn from each other. For me, that was so important. So what is the objective of this whole thing was that why we wanted this tool at NMMU. NMMU has got the hybrid collection. So we want to look at user behavior, and therefore we want a responsive collection. We don't even know at now what does the user prefer, online or print. So now our budget is spent in a 2-way, whereby sometimes we have a need for an e, and we have more print books, or we have no print books and we have all E, but there's a need for a print as well. So that is one of the challenges. So therefore, we want that to be one of the objectives. And it must inform our librarians to make informed decisions when we spend. Okay, we want to be able to do the return on investment, the value proposition of our e-resources. And we want to do constructive reporting to all stakeholders. Doesn't matter whether it is for my land manager, whether it is for the director, whether it is for the LISC report, whether it is for CHELSA report. We want to do constructive reporting. And we want to build a strong, contemporary, accessible, sustainable collection for teaching and learning and research. More importantly also, this will also assist us with any funding request to the institution. And we come to my last slide where I say thank you for listening to me.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rafiekah. Really enjoyed your presentation. I felt like you could just continue talking and just keep talking. I was busy just writing as you were talking, and all the things that you highlighted are really exactly what we hope to achieve with this coming together as a community of practice through these platforms. Without any waste of time, are there any questions? Actually, let me look at the chat for you, Rafiekah. Somebody's just saying thank you. What you have just shared with us is so interesting, thought-provoking, relatable, and useful. One question I can think of is whether the free use of MS Excel on OneDrive and or Google Sheets on Google has maybe been found to be too limited or not appropriate.
I didn't get the question.
It's asking, I'm gonna read again. One question I can think of is in whether the free use of MS Excel on OneDrive and or Google Sheets on Google Drive has maybe been found to be too limited or not appropriate.
I would think so, because it will be, and first of all, if it's going to be an Excel, it will be a manual capturing. Okay. For me, when you capture data numbers, it's very, very taxing. You can make a mistake easily. I've seen it happen already where you capture into Excel, especially when you get, when the colleague that was doing your statistics, when you take that from the one, when you don't import it or export it into a spreadsheet, it's okay. But when you have to capture things, data, and what is tedious is the fact that how do you say what is a hit versus what is a search? You know, so where do you now going to put that information unless I feel that when you put something down on paper, whoever the reader is, it doesn't matter whether you're a statistical person or whether you're a person that is not a number person, that it must make sense. So everything needs to, so using Excel will be okay for me because I would understand what I'm capturing, but it might not be understandable to the reader of maybe, let's say, science, the dean of science. He wouldn't know what's going on. What are you saying to me? Is my usage high? Is my usage low? Or what is wrong? Or is there should I make a decision of cancel or renew? So for me, that is the uniformity of those is not going to be good using those tools.
Thank you. Thank you, Rafiekah, for that. Now, if there are no more questions, I think we should move on to the next presenter. That is, we have a look. That would be Ms. Carine Basson. So Carine is, or there you are. Carine is from Northwest University and she is the senior librarian, ERM and periodicals as well. Carina, over to you.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Yeah, everything should
Yes,
be
we can.
working. Yes, I can just present on what we do, and I've been doing this, it seems like forever. So I come from I've been the e-resources librarian, but also the senior librarian for periodicals and ERM. And I'm also responsible for all the statistics or the gathering or the reporting of all the statistics of the Northwest University. But as you can see on my first slide, as we're all confused and lost and unclear and disorientated. I want to start with where Nomoya has also spoken about the ISO standards that are there. I've looked at it and it's very comprehensive. But it talks to what we want to do. We need a community for a standard. How do we collect our statistics? It's for the purpose of international reporting, to ensure conformity between countries and even libraries, and to encourage good practice in the use of statistics. Now, I just wanted to touch on this. ELSA, as quite a time back, made had a task team with regards to statistical reporting in the universities. And their aim was to list library issues in terms of services, facilities, and information sources that could assist individual libraries in self and peer reviews. And the aim was to ensure that where a particular statistic is collected, the same definition and methods are used. And when aligned internationally, we can proper benchmark. So they created in collaboration with CPUT to have a statistics portal. And it's very extensive and all the definitions are there, but it's been lacking. Nobody is forced to add statistics there. And it's not really in line with what we want to report on. But I think it's good that we know about what they are, the intentions were. I wanted to monitor operating results against standard of data of similar organizations, and to monitor trends over time and the effects of innovation, to provide a base for planning, decision-making, improving service quality, and a feedback on the results. Inform national and regional organizations in their support, funding, and monitoring roles. Demonstrate the value of library services obtained by users, including the potential value of users in future generations. And in summary, and I think that is what this group is all about, is we need library statistics to assist the information community in identification, definition, collection, and interpretation of statistical data used to describe the current status and condition of academic and research libraries in South Africa. So some of the things that we started with, the steps that they gave us, is we have to decide what we want to report on. They also have a document with guidelines and definitions, and then we also can use sorry, I'm forgetting my English. So we can also use it for our institutional statistics. And the next step is to decide who will collect the statistics. And on our university, we decided that every campus, we all consisted of 3 campuses, and our Potchefstroom campus also have branch libraries. So it was decided every campus have a coordinator that will ensure that the statistics are kept monthly. And this, I can just say, this is the ideal, that it's still a work in progress. And then every section in the library will be responsible for their own statistics, and we will set up alerts to inform them that they must do the statistics manually, and then for ELSA reporting, it would be done annually. And so there are decisions that we will do, but it's still a work in progress. So for the Northwest University, we have the new strategic priority areas, and the main focus for us is that our statistics must speak to each of the priorities that was identified. So to inform that priority and to motivate the advantage, the advances that is being made by the department or section. So firstly, for our information and learning services, we do monthly reporting on training. Our training is done, we use LibCal from SpringShare. So we do a monthly reporting on that of all our branches and our 3 main libraries, of all the training that was presented, and also our information queries are done from using Statico. It's drawn in from there. This is all imported manually. There's not, we don't have an automated process. And then we also report on the LibGuides, but that's on the next slide. We have also want to identify what faculty, how is the faculty using the library services. So in our Statico, we get the queries per faculty as well, and then our LibGuides, how the LibGuides are being used. Sometimes in statistics, we have to get the statistics just to motivate why we are doing what we are doing, and that we are doing it well or not that well, so that we know where to focus our attention on, especially management. And for loan services, we have an integrated Excel folder, a shared folder, that we have all the different campuses that my loan services managers, they add their circulation statistics. We use Sierra currently. We are going over to WorldShare, so that will change. Some statistics are still added manually, like the letters of introduction and books reservations and electronic reserves are done manually. Then we also have our access through to the library, how many people in the library that access the library, as well as the 24-hour rooms. Then also our interlibrary loans, we get that statistics from WorldCat and from Tipasa, so that it's populated in here. And then also we have, because we have the three campuses, we share books and information between the different libraries, so we need to know how many was used by each library. And also with the fines and the interlibrary, the monetary things, value of things. And then the room bookings, we also use LibCal, and so that we know all our different rooms and study group areas, how it is used and if it is used. Then also we had a motivate why the library must be open certain hours. We use our circulation statistics, the transactions and the circulation counter transactions, to see why, if there's necessity for staff to be available in those hours, or can we just use student assistants just to ensure that is somebody in the library. For our branches, they have their own unique statistics. I can just say the way this all started was that we asked management, what do you want us to report on? And then we created their reports. And from there, we asked the middle management, what do you want to report on? And then it's populated from there. And together with the staff's KPIs in their performance agreements. And also our director of information and learning services, they also report on the growth of our ebooks in our database searches and our full text searches. I can just perhaps add to that Excel question that was asked. We can't, because we have 3 different libraries and branches and have so many people inputting data and responsible, there's a lot of files that have formulas in it, and you can't do that on a drive. So we use our network shared folders. So, and it's gathered from there. but we can't have, I have a report, I can, I don't know if I have it here, but I have a report that the director sees with all the branches just populated into it, everything together, all the information that she wants, so that it's difficult to have a shared drive on the cloud with that, because you can't put formulas in that automatically updates once you open the record. In our IR section, the library systems part, we report on how many, on our DSpace, how many items were added to our DSpace, and then also on our Facebook, how it's used. And then on our in-house database, we also report on how that is used and how the databases, it's small individual databases, for example, our examination papers, if it's been used. But I can perhaps, okay, but I'll come to that now. And also on our easy proxy, it's important for us to know how many people are accessing it off campus and on campus, to know where the focus is and to justify the need for having this product. And then in our information resources and admin, we also, the bindery, have statistics on how it's, what they did, what was bound, and then also the gate count, the traffic into the library. This is now just for the main library, but as you saw, the branches also have their own. Then in cataloging, they have, because we have cataloging on 2 of the campuses, they have an integrated report that they can, that they report on Port and Mahlangu, what is done and what the tasks were done. And then for the ERM and periodicals, we are 3 staff over 2 campuses. So we are say how many titles were checked in, how many records were edited. And that's just a manual. This is all for the monthly reporting and for the annual report. All of these are then used by management in the annual reports. And then in the acquisitions department, they also have the how many orders were received, how many were placed, ebooks ordered, especially now with the move towards the ebooks. And then we also display all of our statistics in graphs. Now, coming to what Rafiekah said, I concur with all the problems that she had with the databases, the resources. Because I've been doing it so long, I know most of them I can compare to each other, because most of them are on counter. But some of them, like for example, high and online, I looked at the explanation of what they say. If they say the searches, and I read what they say, and it looks more or less the same as the counter, I use that as the metric. And on our, we do it in Excel. I have a monthly report and then a yearly or monthly sheet, and then the yearly one calculate is combined with the others. And I look at the searches. Sorry, this is still in Afrikaans. It's now been translated. The searches compared to the previous year, and see if it's grown or it's decreased. And then the number of full text articles downloaded. And then from that, I have formulas in that makes a cost per search and a cost per full text. Then using that, and then I also do the ebook packages, just the packages, not the individual yet, just the packages. And then from that previous one, I do a bottom top 10 and bottom 10 searches and downloads, so that we can keep track of and see, listen, there are some stuff that needs to be marketed. Coming to the marketing, then I also have a list of the tops, the bottoms, the worst of the least searches and the least downloads. And then also the highest cost per use and the highest cost per full text download, so that we can see which needs to be marketed and in time see the problem areas that there are. In using all of that, we have a collection development management team that meets monthly, but once a year in March, April, we have a meeting looking at all our databases or our e-resources, not the journals and ebooks, just the big ones. And then we have looking at previous year searches, next year, current year searches, cost per search, then the full text, and that I get from the previous one, and then we evaluate and see, do we want to keep it? Is it a high priority? Is this one in danger of being cancelled? And then we have in the information for our marketing programs for the year to see which ones we can keep. Well, why we do it in the beginning of the year is because some of the databases needs to be renewed earlier in the year, so we can't wait until the end of. We need to be in the beginning of the year to know what's happening. Then I also collect the usage statistics of our OPACs just to know what kind of searches are being done. And then another big project we have is for our journal subscriptions and the databases. The previous database one was just for the library itself. These reports are sent to the faculty. We create one for every faculty. And this report is sent to them for their budget to see what is budgeted in, but we add also the usage of that database or that journal. It goes down and down and down. These journals as well, our subscriptions. These are all our subscriptions. And then they can decide, do they want to keep the subscription or do they want to cancel it? And then finally, we also, like Rafiekah said, we look at the individual ebooks purchased and we collect those statistics. And if they request it, then we can see. And it also helps that we have the turnaways as well, so that we can see if we have limited access, only one user, and we see there's a lot of turnaways, it can immediately inform us to purchase more accesses for our ebooks. But all of this is manual. And some of them I do get automatically, but it has to be downloaded and we have to do it manually. So it will be very good if there is a better way of doing things. But as Nomoya also said, there's always this time, because I'm not responsible just for statistics. That is a very small part of my KPIs. And there's not always enough time to really focus and investigate in getting it better and getting it's easier. So it will be very good that with this group and also together with Chelsea that we can get a national initiative and a national product that can help us, at least, because we will never not have anything manually, because there are the small databases that small things that we need to report on that is not going to be automatic. But if we can get 80% or 70% of our stuff done automatically, that will really help. And then what somebody once also said is that statistics is very good, but you can use it to hide your things or to highlight things. So we must be very responsible in what we report and to be trustworthy in what we report. Thank you. That was very fast.
You know what? It was so informative, and I'm so glad that this is recorded. So much to learn, and I like the fact that you went on and literally shared your metrics with us. And so this is the way we want to go, where anybody who's willing, it will really help us if we can all share them in the manner that you just did now, Carine, so that we can see how we can align with each other and get to that big why of identifying trends and see where, where we're going as libraries. How are we spending? How are our users using us as a country? Because I think there are a lot of similarities, but if we don't share, we won't know. So,
yes, and if I can quickly just add also, and I think that is what Chelsea was trying when they started with the initiative. But now that's more over nearly 10 years ago, so it needs to be updated, and then we need to go forward.
Absolutely, Carine, and I also want to say that as the COP, as the Community of Practice Group, we are well aware, as you said, about what Chelsea is currently doing around statistics. But what CHELSA is doing, in our understanding, is that they are putting together a tool which we can use. So I think what we are doing as the community of practice, we are actually providing a base and some real human touch, basically, to a tool. Because it's one thing to create a tool, but there are no people who are buying into the tool, who are, trying the tool out. Does the tool work? What needs to be? So what we had earlier with CHELSA is that, as you said, Carine, the tool was there, but nobody was forced to go there. And the tool didn't quite give us what we wanted. But I think the COP is just going to provide that support for this tool that we are all waiting for, and see how it can help all of us. So with that said, I would like to now introduce our guest speaker. She is here now in the house. As you can see, she made a very nice comment there, Carine, for you. But there's a question, well, let me not rush. There's a question for you, Carine. Someone is asking, Nicholas is saying, my question would be how all these tables are populated. Is it always manual entry or are there other mechanisms? And two, how the data in the tables are visualized afterwards, e.g. in a print report or a website, etc. Carine.
Okay, if I can answer on that. Currently, it's all manual. There is no automatic mechanism because we need, if we just do it automatically, it's not going to be all together. So that is the dream, that to have something that's more automatic. And the tables are visualized. We make graphs of the tables comparing to different years. To see growth the last 3 years, we usually use the last 3 years. We use graphs, and in our annual report, it's also reported on with graphs. And in on the monthly report, our Senate Library Committee, it is also the pertinent information is then reported on in the report to the committee.
Thank you for that response. Yes, somebody's saying Excel can be automated using macros. So I think, colleagues, we're getting the gist with this session that there is so much to learn from each other and for us to help each other. And that's the whole idea, that going from here onwards, we need to come together. We need to share. You need to go to Carine. Carine, you said this, but I think we can help you in this way, and so on and so forth. Or Carine, help us out because we see that you are really advanced, and so on and so forth. So thank you. I guess can move on to introduce our guest speaker for today. I see we're doing very well with time. Our guest for today is Professor Maria Frahm-Arp. Professor Maria Frahm-Arp is the Executive Director at the UJ Library. And I think I'm going to stop there because if I try to tell you about Professor Maria Frahm-Arp, it's going to take up the hour, I think, that we still have left. So I'm going to leave it there and really hand over to our Executive Director, Professor Frahm-Arp. Over to you, Prof. Maria.
Thank you so much, Nomoya. And thank you very much for the invitation to be with you this morning. I'm not going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation. So I want to talk this morning about why statistics are as important as they are, and hopefully kind of inspire all of you a little bit to continue doing the amazing work that you are doing. As you all know, we are moving into a different world. We are moving into a world that is much more uncertain. Things like globalization, which 3 years ago we would have taken as a certainty, is no longer a certainty. The world is becoming less globalized, more nationalized. We hadn't expected something like a pandemic. But now we know there's another one coming. We just don't know in what form it's going to come. If anybody's been listening to the news, you've been hearing about the drought that is now hitting most of Europe. So the world is changing, and changing in ways that 3 or 4 years ago, most of us wouldn't have predicted. This doesn't exclude libraries, and particularly libraries in South Africa. In different ways, we are going to see the government putting less money into education, and that's going to affect pretty much everybody in this online room. We are going to have less money to spend, and everybody is going to ask us, how are we spending our money and why? And this is where statistics become so important. Now, to me, as a sociologist, statistics are like telling a story. So what I'm always very interested in is, what are the numbers and what are the narratives? So for me, there are always two ends, the numbers and the narrative. And when we have these two together, I think we have more reliability in our reporting. Firstly, we all know that if you just put numbers up, those numbers can be telling any sort of a story. It's when you have the narrative that goes with the numbers that you build a security or a reliability into what you are presenting. Secondly, we live in a world in which our need for resources in the traditional sense are going to get less and less. As more people publish online, as more people publish in open access formats for all sorts of different reasons, the traditional work of the libraries is going to change. But we are going to have to do a lot more work in different areas, and libraries are going to have to become places where people are more and more specialized. So how do we explain to people what we are doing when they can see that the number of books being taken out has gone down over the last 10 years? And this is why the kind of statistical reporting that you've been talking about in this forum is so important. One of the big challenges with having all this information online is helping young people particularly to understand how to access the most reliable information, how to critically assess that information, and then to do something meaningful with it. Be that to write up a report, or if they're having to make a little online video for their class, or if they're writing an essay. They need to be able to find the right information, understand that information, and do something with it. So it is important that we report on the number of trainings that we do. But when we start to unpack that and to explain the type of training that we are doing and what impact it's having on people, then you can see a picture begins to emerge that shows the tremendous value of the library within a broader education space. The second thing is, when we start to take our information and integrate it with another statistical set, if we take the environment of the university, we take the number of people that have come to our training sessions with looking at those students and how well they are doing in class, we are able to begin to tell a story about the impact of our training. So for me, statistics is where it's all at. This is where we have to be as the libraries of the future. We need to be able to very clearly, and I'm going to use the word rational, but rationally show the people that we report to what we are doing and the impact that it is having. In some ways, it was easier 10 years ago because your impact was the number of people that took the books out of your library. But as I say, that world is now changing. And I think that librarians are more needed now than ever before. because we live in this world in which there are so many different types of information that learning how to unpack this information is going to be one of the most critical things librarians will be doing. In many cases, we'll be doing this sort of work with students that come into our schools and into our universities, but we will also be doing it for research centers and for researchers, because the amount of information out there is too much for them to deal with on their own. I don't know about you, but when I joined the UJ Library 5 years ago, most people's reaction to statistics was, why do I have to do it? It's a waste of time. It's boring. And I think at heart, everybody thought it was a way that they were being controlled. And I was asking people to give me statistics because I wanted to make sure they were working, and perhaps they thought I had nothing else to do. That is a myth that we've got to get rid of straight away. Statistics are about telling stories. They are about informing ourselves, firstly, so that we can offer a better service to our customers by understanding their needs, very much what Carine was talking about a minute ago, and so that we can explain to those who fund us what we are doing and why what we are doing is so important. So statistics are not a way to control people. It's not a way to check up on whether people are doing their work. In fact, if that's how we are using the stats, then we need to completely rethink statistics. So one of the things that we have done in our library is to move from reporting about very big sets of data usage in quite an unrefined way to really thinking, what is it that we need to learn about our customers to understand what their needs are in order for us to become reactive more quickly so that we can give them what it is they need. So, for example, we see that a tremendous amount of our students watch the little 2-minute videos that we've made, and they do that a lot at the beginning of the year. So our statistics are starting to tell us that if 70,000 people are downloading videos in the month of March, and we've got a student population of 50,000 people, we are getting a very high percentage of people accessing this type of information, which means we shouldn't be expecting 70,000 people to be downloading our training videos in August and September. In fact, if we were doing that, there would be something wrong with our training. So the next step with statistics is, what is it that you really want to see? And then is that happening? In other words, in an ideal teaching environment, people should be learning the basics of how to find information at the beginning of the year. We should then have more time as librarians in the second half of the year to be helping those students that are academically at risk, students that have failed something in the first semester and now need extra help and support. But you can see that as an executive director of the library, if I have these statistics in front of me and they are telling a particular story, and I then say in the second half of the semester, I expect us to be training people that are at risk. Firstly, it means we're going to be training far fewer people. Secondly, we're going to be training them more slowly because they have extra needs that we need to take into account. And so the statistics that I get in the second half of the year around training should be looking very different to the statistics that I get at the first half of the year. We live in an environment in which we constantly want to see the curve go up. But the great thing about some statistics is we want to see them coming down. So if people have been watching all your trainings in the first half of the year, it should be coming down in the second half of the year. And this is why the numbers and the narrative are so important. We can show that this number of people attended our trainings, and we see that the people who did have done well in their exams. It is very clear that we shouldn't be expecting them for trainings in the library in the second half of the year. So one of the things with statistics is it's also about educating the people that you are reporting to about what your statistics are about. And that's when the narrative becomes so important. So for me to sum up again, the world of the library is changing profoundly. We actually don't know what it's going to look like in 2 years' time. We do know that many of the big certainties in the world are no longer certainties. We know that a lot of things are changing because of technology, but we're really not quite sure how that's going to happen. We need to have an agile way to track what our users are doing and to be able to predict to some extent what their needs will be. When we start to engage in what the King 4 report talks of as thinking reporting, so not reporting just for its own sake, but reporting so that you can identify trends, solve problems, and ideally predict future behavior, then you are able to position yourself in such a way that you can agilely change, taking into account the needs of your users. Our statistics are also important for the people that we report to. And so we need to have statistics that give us the numbers and tell us a narrative, because one of the challenges going forward is to explain to the people that support our libraries that the work of librarians is changing because the world has changed, and we as librarians are being agile and moving into a new space with the same overall goal that we've always had, which is to make information accessible to all our users. How we do that now is, of course, different to the way that we did it 10 years ago. So I hope that in these few minutes, I've been able to inspire you a little bit, to remind you that statistics are exciting and interesting and relevant. Statistics are not about checking on whether people have done their jobs, but about enabling us to provide the best possible service to our students, to the staff that we work with, and to the communities that we engage with. And it is through statistics that we will be able to see how we need to agilely change in order to give the best possible service, and for us to be able to tell coherent and rational stories to the people that fund us so that they can understand the important work that all of us are doing to uplift our fantastic nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Maria, for, I would like to say, I think, words of encouragement to the librarians who are tasked to work with statistics on a daily basis. I think my colleagues here in the library space, if you ever doubted what you were doing with statistics today, I think it's the day in which you are really reassured. And this is coming from an executive director, a member of CHELSA, a leader in the profession. And I think this Prof. Maria's presentation, her sharing with us also support the initiative that we are taking as librarians to form this community of practice. She has in a way summed up the purpose. What should we be thinking about as we work together in this group? So really, thank you so much, Prof. Maria, for taking time to be with us. I must tell you, colleagues, that it is in between traveling, driving around from campus to campus that she made this time to be here with us now. So really, thank you, Prof. Maria, for this. I'd like to give you, colleagues, an opportunity to engage Prof. Maria for a few minutes before she ducks. Anybody would like to ask a question or comment?
Yes, Nicholas has got a very good question. Can I answer that?
Yes.
So Nicholas, I am taking it that your question is from a academic space. So for me, the key indicators are a couple. The first one is at a school or a university, one of your most critical issues is how to get students through the system as quickly as possible with the best marks possible. So one of the indicators would really be how many students are you training and in what are you training them? That would be the first big indicator. If it's possible in your environment to link your students who are using the library with the marks that the students get, that's even better because you'll see there'll be a good correlation. The second thing is a big one for me, which I didn't have a chance to talk about, but let's take one of the things we need to be driving in our university. So there's a lot of research that shows when you first learn a new subject, you really want to have it in a pen and paper format. We learn more easily from the written page than we do from the screen. So one of the things that I need to motivate is more money to buy more textbooks because our students don't have the money to buy their own textbooks. So here I would be using information, obviously, that I get from previous research, but then also very crude indicators, the amount of stuff students copy at our Minolta copy machines. If it's all online, why are they copying? They're copying because they need it. So I use those statistics to tell a story. Then another big indicator is how much are your academics using your resources? And you'll see again, there'll be a strong correlation between your high-performing academics and those who are using the library, which will lead to all sorts of conversations about the importance. So you get away from the fact that not every academic is using your library, but rather the high-performing people are, and we want everybody to follow that trend. Because one of the things with statistics is if you've got a bunch of academics, most of whom are not spending a lot of time on research, and then people question and say, why don't academics use the library? You get stuck. But when you can link academic users with their output, then you can tell a very different story. And that's why, to me, the numbers and the narrative are so important, because numbers on their own can be very dangerous.
Thank you, Prof. Maria, for that detailed response. There's a question here, but I'm not sure if it will be for you really, Prof. What collaborative platforms do colleagues use to ensure that test collection and collation is centralized? I think I'll answer this one. It is precisely for this, to answer this question, that we are coming together as a community of practice librarians, because we want to investigate these tools together. We want to see how we can collaborate, with what we can collaborate. Because oftentimes we go solo as an institution, you find a tool. And later on you realize that, but there's a better tool used by library B. So we want to run away from doing that. So this conversation as a community of practice is going to really get us to that place where we have collaboration tools. And I think CHELSA, through CPUT, is also looking into that, and hopefully that tool will play that role to allow us to collaborate. Thank you so much again, Prof. Maria. If there aren't any further comments for Prof. Maria, I would love to really release her. Prof, if you'd like to stay on, you can, but if you need to duck, you're welcome to do so. Thank you so much. Thank you. Right, now I'm going to take the opportunity, I keep switching my video on and off. I'm going to take the opportunity to introduce the next speaker. Our next speaker, last but one, hopefully are we doing very well with time, is Jeremiah Peterson. Jeremiah, please take over the platform. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Hi, Nomoya. Thanks. Thanks, colleagues.
Before you start, Jeremiah,
Sure.
I'm so rude. I didn't say who you are. So Jeremiah is from University of Stellenbosch. He is the manager, learning and training. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thanks so much, Nomoya. Thanks, colleagues, for joining us today. I think these are very important discussions to have. And I appreciate that I'm going after Prof. Maria because I like what she said, a statement of being statistics tell stories. And so I'm going to briefly go through what we do at Stellenbosch, but I'm going to focus specifically on what I do in my role as the manager of learning and training. So my focus for this short presentation will be more on this kind of statistics that I collect and that the statistics that impact my division. But I'll try to bring in what other sections do as well, briefly. Yeah, so I don't have a presentation, so I'll be speaking to you. So at Stellenbosch University Library, we've got several colleagues that collect stats, and the way that we keep track of this is through a document shared on SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint. And these statistics range from circulation stats to gate count stats to usage stats. And in this document links to all the different places on SharePoint that these different stats are held and updated. And so the type of statistics that we collect are also informed by strategic directions of the Library Information Service, which is in turn informed by the institution's strategy. So I want to speak also about what works and what doesn't work quite well. So one of the things that get done every so often is an update of strategic actions that are developed from the strategic objectives. So the strategic objectives cover a 5-year period, but these actions are generally shorter to medium term, which is 1 to 2 years. And so these stats, in a sense, are ad hoc, and they collected for a short period to tell us about what is happening in the library. And this is especially the case when we develop new services or tools. The issue comes in when we continue to collect these kinds of stats and the reason disappears. So now these become burdensome for staff because they sort of collected in a vacuum without any strategic or operational backing to why they collected. So I just wanted to note that because I've noticed that it doesn't happen often, but in 1 or 2 cases these does happen. And I think the more that this kind of thing happens, the more onerous stats collection becomes, because more things are added continually. And so one of the other things that I wanted to highlight was the use of forms to collect stats. And I just want to mention this because this is a story that happened here not so long ago. When I started, we made use of InfoPath web forms, and in my case particularly, this was to collect training stats, and we found that lots of spam was coming through. So only after a while we realized that the forms weren't as secure as we thought it was, and a lot more and many more people outside of our organization had access to these forms. So my presumption is that we were being spammed by bots that were just inputting information, and that was coming through, and that meant we had lots of cleanup. So I think one of the things to note is also when you are collecting stats, the different tools that you use, make sure that there's some sense of security. So we've moved subsequently, or for my forms, we've used to Microsoft Forms, because our institution has a subscription, and it's generally more secure because our central IT has some sense of control over our security for Microsoft Forms. And then I also want to repeat what Prof. Maria has said about the idea of stats collection. And I think at one point when I was redoing the forms, and I took this as an opportunity to re-look at what stats we are collecting for training specifically, and what we all understand from in what we're collecting. And there was this idea amongst faculty librarians, and not all of them, but a few, that we were collecting stats, training stats, to look at how much training they are giving, and using this in turn to look at how well they're performing within their different faculties and departments. And this brings a feeling of having stats collection as a bean counting exercise. And this is not the case. Again, stats tell a story, and yeah, and so I think it is beneficial to always reiterate what the story is that you want to get from the stats and what the stats are telling you. Yeah, so let me get into some of the nitty-gritty, and I'll keep an eye on time as well. So at the moment, we are collecting as much as possible. We are trying to have our stats collected in an automatic manner, but that doesn't always work. So we subscribe to a lot of the SpringShare products, which I'm sure you all do too. So SpringShare collects the views on LibGuides. We use LibCal for our space booking. So for at the beginning of COVID, we bought seats, and so we kept track of how the library is used through the seats, through the spaces, statistics collection on LibCal for our seats, and our seminar rooms, discussion rooms. And now we are now using more of our discussion rooms. And so we make use of LibCal to collect those stats still. And then we also use LibCal to collect stats of event attendance. And our events are generally our generic training sessions, these being sessions that are not subject specific, like how to use our library search platform, how to use Google or Google Scholar effectively, things like that. And then we also recently started a subscription to LibChat. And so we use the SpringShare stats to also collect our LibChat stats. And then I think one of the things that brought me to this group in the first place was our use of LibInsights. And LibInsights is also part of the SpringShare suite, and we use LibInsights specifically for reference statistics. And so during 2 months of the year, 1 month being a fairly busy month and the other month being a fairly quiet month, we collect stats for that entire month. We ask all our faculty librarians and our client service staff or user-facing staff to collect stats on the references that they receive via email, via phone, via Teams, etc. And this informs us on what kind of questions we get and how the questions are answered and how students are reaching us, or not only students, but all users from the university. I use Microsoft Forms, as I mentioned earlier, to collect my training stats for subject, faculty, or module-specific training. And then we also rely on good old Excel sheets to collect stats manually. So, for example, while SpringShare does collect stats on views for LibGuides, we typically would export where we can and to Excel, and then do further analysis or cleaning up of the data on Excel. We also collect views on videos on YouTube, and these we keep also in Excel sheets. So, you know, with all of this different information, a lot of them are used to inform decisions around operations. And this is quite important. The reference stats tells us what type of queries we get in different functional areas, so we know what skills capacity different staff need in different areas. The training stats I was talking about earlier, that those stats tell us a story of how embedded our librarians are in their different faculties, what level what levels are being trained. So is it first year, is it second year, is it postgrad students, is it master students? But they also, one of the useful feedback that we received earlier this year was that for one specific faculty, training opportunities were decreasing, and not because the department wasn't finding the library sessions useful. They were realizing that in the faculty, different departments request the same training, so resulting in the same students getting the same session 2 or 3 times a year, and that's not a very how do I say this? It's not a good use of our time, and not a good use of our library resources in terms of human capacity in giving the same session across and then disengaging the students in that way. So that bit of qualitative feedback helped us tell a story from the stats for that specific faculty. So again, as Prof. Maria said, there's numbers are only as useful as the narrative that accompanies that numbers. And so besides informing decisions around operations, these stats also feed into things like the annual report. It also gives us some idea of our progress on strategic objectives, especially when our stats collection or data collection is centers around specific strategic actions. Yeah, and then who collects the stats? So in Stellenbosch University Library, and I think I've mentioned this before, stats are collected across the library, and the responsible people are the divisions that are responsible for the different operations. So circulation will collect circulation stats. For example, I'm sitting in the Learning Commons, so my team is responsible for collecting the gate counts for the Learning Commons. Then I think one thing that sometimes gets overlooked in stats collection is bibliometric data. And I know a lot of my colleagues work very hard on collecting statistical data that links to bibliometrics, to research impact. And these are also important, and it's also important to recognize that the numbers don't stand alone, but it's good also to understand what the numbers mean and to tell a story to accompany those numbers. So that brings me to my next point, the general understanding of need for statistics. So I think this happens across academic libraries, that the need for statistics is not always clear. And as time passes, it's easy for the need to become more and more unclear if we don't reiterate why we are collecting the stats on a regular basis, and especially when new staff also enters the library service. So what I try to do is I try to really look at what stats I collect for my division, and I try to substantiate to myself and to my colleagues what the benefits of collecting these stats are, how it impacts their work, how it impacts my work, and how it impacts the larger library service. And yeah, I think I'm finishing off now in 1 or 2 minutes. So in terms of capacity for stats and for stats reporting, I think we're at a point where we need more capacity in terms of just people that work with understanding the stats. And we also need capacity and skill in quantitative and qualitative data analysis. I think it's very easy, and Carine mentioned this, we can easily use stats to hide or highlight data. And I think in developing skills in quantitative and qualitative data analysis, we need to also develop an understanding of ethics of data reporting, and we need to develop an understanding of why we are collecting the statistics and what they mean, and that they're not necessarily, as I mentioned earlier, bean counting exercise or performance evaluation, but they help us understand what we are doing and how we are doing what we are doing. Yeah, so I think with that, I will end. Thank you very much, Nomoya, for this opportunity. Thanks, colleagues.
Thank you so much. You finished just on time. That is great. We have just exactly 10 minutes for our next speaker. I don't see any question on the chat board. Let me see here, Jeremiah. Do you provide feedback evaluation forms after the training? That's the question.
Hi, Tuli. Yes, we do provide feedback or evaluation forms after the training. And again, this is, it's not meant to be a punitive exercise for the trainers, but it also tries to give us an idea of how the training is happening and if we need to make any changes. Yeah, and I think especially during COVID times when we had to adapt very quickly to online, then back in person, and then back online, and now in a hybrid form, and how we negotiating those spaces.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. You said a mouthful. We will take a lot of what you have said forward through our community of practice group as well. That's the whole idea of today, to ignite conversations. So I'm going to now call upon Happy Mphahlele. Happy is our manager at client services here at the UJ Library. Happy, you are our last speaker. The floor is yours, Happy.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you so much, Nomoya, and thank you also to the colleagues who have already shared their stories within their different institutions. I am gonna share the UJ journey in terms of the statistics. I'm not sure if you are seeing my slide.
Yes, you can, Happy. We can see it. Thank you.
Okay. Is it fine?
You just need to swap, do the swapping slowly.
Quickly.
At the moment, we're seeing your note.
Okay. So with regards to the UJ library, I'm just gonna take you through what we are doing at UJ, and just to, I think the story is the same. I just need to just bring it home to UJ, but as I've listened to colleagues, everything is the same. We are experiencing the same challenges. I just wanted to hear from colleagues. Is my screen clear? I'm not seeing it nicely. I'm seeing it on double slides.
We can
It's
see
very
it.
clear.
It's clear.
Is it clear?
Perfect.
Okay, good. So firstly, with regards to the UJ case study, I would like to share with you the library metrics, the data stewards, the data quality, the governance, and the literacy thereof. So what we are doing at UJ, I think for most of the colleagues we have already shared, the main issue is to get the library metrics right. What is it that you want to capture statistics for? So I think for me, that is really very core to say these are the metrics that we are agreeing and aligning to in terms of different sections in the library, with the main goal of speaking the same language. So if we are sitting with, for example, the ILL, it is important that they are very clear with their story in terms of saying we would like to showcase what queries, what request has been done, or what have we supplied to other libraries, but also to bring it down to say, as we are doing that, what are we identifying as our operational statistics? What is our management statistics, and what is important that eventually goes to the annual report? So then the people within the specific division for this conversation, I'll use the ILL, then they will agree that then they will use the unfilled and detail, drilling down into detail for the unfilled for their own specific section. But when we go into the other level, then they will then share the request, how many were requested, how many were supplied, with the intention of saying, if we as UJ are requesting a lot from others, then we need to go back and look at what is it, what resources are there that we are requesting a lot from others that we need to acquire for ourselves. So that is how the metrics, how important the metrics are before you start saying you want to collect statistics. You really need to be clear of your metrics and agree across, because our units are sitting in different campuses, so we need to have those conversations. And the other important thing, the data stewards, as it always is asked, who is capturing statistics? So with us at UJ, everyone is capturing the statistics. And for that to happen, we really had to make sure, because the resistance was there, the not doing it on time was there, but instilling that culture came through the data literacy that we did. So when we sit with different units in the library and saying, you say you want to showcase these statistics, why are you wanting this specific one? And how are you going to do that? And also, how accessible is that statistics gonna be? So it was really very important to look at such things, to say the quality, make sure that you commit yourself as a data steward to say, there's data that I'm submitting, which will be used for various reasons, is very accurate, is of quality. I am sure of what I'm doing. I have made sure that there is no duplication, there is no errors, because we can easily make errors in terms of that. And with regard to the governance, really, we are just saying, make it available, make it accessible, let it be as accurate as possible. And the next thing that I would like us to look at is the platforms that we're using at UJ. So I would like to agree that everybody is using Excel. That's where we all have been. But at UJ, we have also procured the Leap Insight, the Leap Call, Leap Answer, it's got Leap Chat also in it. And what we have done with this product, really, we had to learn it was like self-taught platforms that we have to go through and sit and say, what is it that we want? Those metrics that we're talking about, then we had to come to the Leap inside and really put them there in a way that they make sense to us. The understanding is the same. If you are saying a certain training, we need to make sure that it is called in one name, a topic of a training. When our staff goes there, she clicks with understanding. If a query we are saying is a simple or complex query, we unpack and try to understand that, so that when you populate on Leap Insight, you really are sure of what your understanding and what the value, the value of what you're putting in there is going to be. And also the Leap call, we have just procured the product. These three products, like Jeremiah has said, they are from SpringShare. Leap call basically is for your trainings. We're doing our events there. You do the appointments there, and also the booking of the spaces. And so far, we're doing very well on it. Pretty new, but we are happy with it. And Leap Answer, we have procured it also, and we are still looking at how to approach that, as we were focusing more on the Leap call to get the trainings out there. But mainly the Leap call, the Leap Answer and the Leap chart are basically what we can take from our FAQs, and then we will track with statistics which questions are popular and how we are answering it. Is it satisfactory to the response that the students or the clients need? The next point is the pre-lockdown and during the lockdown and post-lockdown. So with this aspect, I just want to share with colleagues what we have done in terms of collecting statistics. So pre the lockdown at UJ Library, we had campus librarians really collecting statistics from their staff and making sure that they send that to me. So that's pretty much changed when we moved into the lockdown. When we moved into the lockdown, everyone is aware that things happened so rapidly. We had to move, students had to move online, did online learning, and we also had to move online. So what we did at UJ to show that we are supporting these students where they are at that moment, we made sure that we submit our statistics weekly, which can be very lot of work, but that really, during that time, we really were convinced that taking statistics is important, because that served as a tool for us to guide us where we need to make changes, to move people around. So it was really important that we take statistics weekly. The colleagues made sure that they did trainings online. They went immediately into MS Teams and eventually into Zoom, because the demand was so high for these students to attend these trainings online. And also they created videos that students who were not able to attend those trainings at given time, they can at their free time go onto these videos and read or listen to how to access ebooks, how to access databases, and all those things that they really needed for their studies to save their academic year. So really during the pandemic, during the lockdown, our colleagues worked very hard to make sure that we support teaching and learning and research. And as I'm saying, as I'm saying with embracing statistics, it could only happen because of the statistic, putting the statistics there. And like Prof. Maria and Jeremiah and everybody said, you put the statistic with a story to say, this thing is happening, let's change this, let's work things around in a different way, because we need to make sure that these students are not frustrated. They are able to get the information needs at all times when they need that. So really, during lockdown, a lot of things happened. And when we came back to the office, it was really to reconnect. We went back and in different divisions again, looked at the metrics again, and we are moving forward to say we have a better understanding, and the culture is really instilled of committing to submitting statistics and knowing the importance of statistics at the end of the day. As with everyone at UJ, we are also experiencing challenges, and these are the few pointers that I will like to share with you. I think colleagues will agree that the metrics, we need to agree with the metrics. In different meetings, we hear people that the kind of queries that they really want to capture on the system is not really something that it needs to go to the system. So there are such arguments, and we need to agree to say why, how important is it, what value is it adding? And we need to have those conversations without any doubt to say, we are doing this because the output of this is most important than the nitty-gritties that we want to populate on the system. Because to be honest, the platforms, what we want to use for them are mainly the core metrics, where we are able to do the dashboards, we are able to do the visualization, the edit glance thing. So some of the statistics that colleagues will like to collect are actually at the division level, where they can talk about them when they are in their groups, and they really work there. But we don't need to overwhelm the system with other things that maybe we can populate in a different method. And also the submission of stats on time. I think Carine has also mentioned that, and Nomoya in her talk regarding the different reports that are written out there. Most of the people, most of the institutions or the libraries are saying, but we do not have time to submit this. There is lack of time. There is lack of people who are dedicated to do this. And the infrastructures, the technology is also not there. So this really serves as a major role, challenge for us all. Submission of the data that is of quality. This really talks to us being confident in sharing what we are doing, and taking the statistics out there. So when we take it out there, we need to have the confidence in the understanding and the sharing of this. And that comes with the quality. We really need to be cautious when we put statistics to say, if I'm putting it that way, when it comes out on the other side, how is it gonna look? What picture am I giving in terms of that? And the other issue really is about the technical skills gap. As I've said with the Leap Insight and these other platforms, we in our profession never had such trainings to be able to do this kind. And as Prof have said, everything is changing, and we need to move to where data is taking us or where technology is taking us. But the gap, it's really is there, and we need to upskill ourselves to go out there and make ourselves willingly to take up these tools, unpack them, understand them better, because these are the way to go. The other issue is the leadership role. On this issue, as Prof have said, is really to say, for us to get all these issues or activities right, and to show that we are adding value to the support that we're giving to the students in terms of the service and the collection, the leadership role is very important. So at UJ Library, like as you have said, you have had with Prof, we are really very fortunate, because even though we are experiencing some challenges and all that, but they are much bearable, because we are having the leadership our management team that is able to take us with them to say, this is what you need to do in terms of the stats. This is what I want to see. This is the value that this stat is adding to the overall, and really to align all this with the strategic plans and the goals of the library, and overall to the strategic plans and goals of the university. So if you have the buy-in and the support from your management, it really makes it much easier, especially for me at UJ, as I'm the one who's collating statistics from different people. Like, we have more than 40 people who are collecting statistics. We have more than 18 metrics that we work with. So if I have to go to these people who are actually having their own managers to ask them, you didn't submit, when are you submitting? It gets too difficult. But when the leadership, when we sit in our management meetings, where this statistics is a major agenda point, it makes it much easier that when we sit there with the management team of maybe we're about 35 or so, and we speak about this, we engage on statistics. I then come with a presentation there. I put statistics for monthly, quarterly, or month by month, which will show the trends to say the database are not increasing. What is it? And as Prof has said, the declining doesn't mean it's not a big issue if things are declining. It really is. The main issue is if you give a story why, then that's what the value is in terms of that specific metric. So the sharing of statistics, putting it on SharePoint, bringing it to management every month, interrogating it, let people give narratives of their metrics in their spaces, really make this journey much better. And as I'm saying, very thankful to the leadership. And lastly,
a minute.
Yes, I'm on the last one, which is a way forward. So the main thing is that we all want to move completely away from Excel. I think everyone can agree to that we need that data analytic tool that is so automated and seamless, and can do everything, cross-reporting, cross-tab reporting, and all that without us putting effort into all this. And we can only go out there and look for this. And I know for now in the market, there is a new tool that is called Panorama, which is able to take these silo data sources together and able to do the visualization, the edit glance, and all that we really want. So we as a group, we're gonna go out there and look at this and see how we can benefit from this tool. And that is identifying more advanced data analytics tool. That's the Panorama I'm talking about. And we really need to close the skills gap. And the skills gap is really a big issue because we can see with how the library is changing. And it can only start from really from the curriculum, from where the studies, how they align the scope of studies in terms of what the library field is taking us to, so that when we come to the lab, to the environment, we are already technically knowledgeable, so that we can take these things forward. And we cannot do this if we are not collaborating, if we are not benchmarking. Thank you so much, colleagues.
Thank you so much, Happy, and the colleagues that have presented before you. I am really a bit sad that we went a little bit over time. Happy, it is not your fault. It is the program director's fault. So I really apologize for that. And colleagues, in summary, really, as a group, together as librarians, we are agreeing that we all see a need to share. Share information, share metrics, share platforms, and processes. The next step for us will be to do a bit of an audit with interested academic libraries to really interrogate what it is that we do, to see where we can align together and collaborate, and also so that we can get to a place where we can speak in one voice and have some uniformity where it is possible. In that way, be able to detect trends and respond to these accordingly. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I really would like to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Thanks to the LIASA leadership for giving us the platform for us to do what we need to do. In this way, LIASA is really encouraging us to grow professionally by offering this platform in the form of the interest groups, really highlighting what they want to highlight and share amongst each other. I really thank each and every one. As I said, to my Gauteng branch of LIASA, thank you, colleagues, for cooperating and working together to ensure that we have these successful seminars and sessions. I think with that said, I would really like to say goodbye to all of you, and let's just close the session because we do not really have time to do any further business. So I really thank you, and forgive me, colleagues, for not giving you an opportunity to come in and say a few words. I think we will do this outside of the meeting and reach out to our colleagues in that way. Just remember the Gauteng branch activities that are upcoming. Have a look at the LIASA website. There is the general meeting upcoming and so on. So thank you so much. And it is a goodbye from my side.
Thank you so much, colleagues. Thank you for attending. Thank you. Thanks to LIASA Gauteng South.